Bum, bum, bum. Hey guys, it's Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show, and we are back on the air again. And yeah, I had to make quick adjustments this morning. You know what I mean? Just to show you, in this time of with coronavirus and everything, everybody has internet problems every now and then. And we are getting our share at our house today. So, guys, I'm Tim Gillette, the Tim Gillette Show, and we're on a goal to reach 100 interviews in 30 days. That means I'm interviewing people who are friends of mine, people who are longtime friends of mine, people who I haven't talked to, people like, I didn't even know, like I did yesterday. I did a couple of them I didn't even know. And some of them I've known but haven't talked to in a long time. So this one here today is Monique Hoffman. And, I've known Monique about 5 years, I think. We met on Blab, all right? And her life has changed as we've had some recent conversations. And you've seen her on my happy hour. As well. But today we're actually going to bring her on the Tim Gillette Show and get to know her and find out more about her. So let me bring her on here and say hi. Well, hello, Monique.
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
How are you today?
I am very well, thanks.
So what's the weather up like there in Chicago now, not Arizona?
Chicago. No. Got tired of being hot, So now we're at a very warm and sunny 34 degrees, feels like 28.
And you got, I don't know, is the view a little bit nicer?
It just a little. A little. There's some water, this big body of water. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's been years since we've hung out and done a show together, all right? And I was like so excited that you wanted to be on the show, and I'm like, heck yeah. But we're not going to do any cooking today, right?
No cooking.
No cooking today. It's just you and me?
It is.
Okay, good. So, and everybody's now texting me, hey, I can't get, yeah, I know you can't get on the site.
Yeah, it's a tough one today.
Yeah. So, Monique, last time you and I were on a show together, all right, you were living in Arizona and your world kind of changed and you decided to move out of Arizona. Why don't you give us a little bit about the journey where you've been over the last 5 years?
Wow, 5 years. And you say 5 years because that was when we met on Blab.
That's when we first met, but I think it was, well, we've talked since then, but I mean, like up until a week ago, it'd been like 3 years since we've talked.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've always been a West Coaster, an East Coaster at heart, but sort of stuck in the West, even though that's where I'm originally from. And, a series of long-term respiratory illnesses really just kind of forced me to reevaluate where I'm living, where I was living. So, I have with so many friends on the internet and a lot of people to look to and work with. I've always designed my world to be virtual no matter what it is that I'm doing. I have multiple businesses that I run completely virtually and I love it. So it really, I see less than 1% of my clients and we'll talk more about what I do, but when you see less than 1% of your clients, where does it matter where you are?
Yeah. So. And that is so true. All right. When, you run a business, you can run from anywhere. Why aren't you living where you want to live? Well, unless like your spouse has to be in a certain area. My wife is staying here because I think I have to be in Dallas. But yeah, so you moved up to, and like, have you always wanted to live in Chicago or you just always want to live in a moving city?
I'm originally from Los Angeles. So when I was at 11, when I was sent to Arizona, sort of, I always say against my will, and put in, I moved to Gilbert, Arizona. And if anyone knows anything about Gilbert, Arizona, the cow population was very high at some point. Now, there's lots of, it's like a highly desirable city. But it was, that's where I learned how to wear cowboy boots. Was in Gilbert, and it just was never big enough for me. And despite Phoenix growing rapidly, and despite Phoenix being the fifth largest city in the country, it wasn't big enough. There wasn't enough culture and different things to do. Now I still love it. I still do a ton of business there, but ultimately respiratory issues kind of forced me to go somewhere closer to water. And apparently humidity is a thing, and Chicago is great at that. So here we are.
Oh, okay. And, in this pandemic, being in the cities like Chicago, like, in Arizona, you know what I mean? Everybody doesn't live in high rises. Being being up in Chicago, I mean, you live kind of in a building that's high rise, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't live like, just an apartment complex that's 2 floors and a bunch of,
No.
So talk to me about being in this pandemic and being up in a high rise and being around people who are in high rises all around you. What's that like right now?
Oddly enough, even though I'm in a high rise, I'm able to be sort of secluded from, like, I have an unobstructed view of Lake Michigan and Soldier Field. So I don't feel that claustrophobic. I don't feel like I'm still surrounded by a ton of people. And I'm just less than 2 miles away from that sort of feeling. If I even just moved less than 2 miles away, which in Chicago, 2 miles is the equivalent of like 10 miles somewhere else. It's highly populated. I would say, there's different things that you have to consider when you're living in a high rise in a time of respiratory illnesses and pandemics. Like, where does your central air come from? Are you sharing air conditioning or heater units with other residents? Because viruses like this can, travel through. And I'm fortunate enough to have everything here. I don't share laundry. I don't share ventilation. So I'm good.
And, that would be my first worry, what I share. But then again, I live in a condo community. So it's like, I share a driveway with, hundreds of people. And it almost feels like an apartment complex is what we live in. But there, well, first of all, do you even have a car, or do you use public transportation up there?
Oh, no, I have a car.
Yeah. So you have to deal with parking, garages, things like that, don't you?
Well, yeah, but I haven't moved my car in weeks. And nothing's changed about that. My lifestyle really hasn't changed, given the circumstances.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that, it's interesting. Most of us who've been stay at home or do broadcasting or something along the lines, our life hasn't changed. But you do somehow, you're not like a broadcaster like me. You're doing some other stuff now. Tell us about what you've been up to, because your world's changed.
Yeah, I actually went back to my roots. So, what's really funny about the internet is that anything that's happened before, I'd say, Twitter and Facebook, it's like it didn't exist. And so a lot of my friends online and people that I've met through live streaming, they remember me as one of them, as marketer, broadcaster. And I still very much am into that, and I still do that. But, given the circumstances and my own personal and professional goals, it's necessary for me to go back to my roots and help as many people as I can through financial services. How many people right now do you know that are struggling, whether it's, health concerns, fears of coverage for health, life insurance, savings. The country, most states were not even prepared for this financially, let alone the individuals that are having to go through it.
And like we're looking at, immediately when things start down, Gwen and I go into panic, like, oh crap, do we have enough money to make it through this?
Yeah,
we're looking at it but then financial wise, I have CNBC always playing on my TV because I'm like one of those watching what the markets are doing. Yep. And smart me would have went at the beginning of this, oh crap, pull your money out real quick and hold it until it drops and hits bottom. But dumb me went, oh no, I'm going to hold on to it. Yeah. What are you advising your clients to do if they caught it early enough? And you know what I mean? Well, and how much can you advise in whatever licenses you have?
Exactly. So while I am not a financial advisor, and that was a professional decision, it wasn't like I haven't taken the test yet. I've taken it just to see what it was like, but my future goals don't warrant the stock market. While I do value what it does and what it gives us, I don't believe that a lot of people, no matter what age you're at, have prepared enough to even play in the stock market. And so I actually like to leverage insurance policies as personal banks instead of utilizing 401ks and other retirement plans, because, if there's anything that we know is that taxes are going to go up, right? That's like the water is blue, the sky is blue, taxes are going to go up. That's a known fact. So why are we not diversifying enough to kind of make the system work for us? I mean, I'm not one to complain about the system. I just want to work around it and make it work for me. And that is my approach to my business and serving my clients. So I've worked with a lot of people actually before the pandemic to transition, not to liquidate, but to stop funding a lot of what they had that was involved in the stock market, like say 401ks, and invest it in something a little safer, but that was actually generating a higher return.
So being in that field, though, all right, what you're doing, and I mean, you can give advice and stuff like that, and I'm going to take your advice because number one, I'm trusting you, but I'm in the content creation game. There's certain things you can't do on a broadcast, on a podcast. Is that correct?
In what sense? Like what I can say?
Yeah, what you can say. Doesn't everything in the financial, even in insurance, have to be approved before you're able to broadcast it or create content or create a marketing version like a blog or a podcast?
When your securities licensed, absolutely.
Okay.
And that was part of it also, is that how do you go from a world of PR and media relations, which is what I was in before, to, which is, content is king, whatever you felt like putting out there, you could put out there, to securities license and highly restricted. And, I mean, the financial services industry has not met the internet. It has not met, they haven't been able to integrate it properly. So to make it work for financial advisors, to make their services more approachable and more accessible to people. And that's part of the problem. And I'm all about accessibility, which is why I sit on the internet and do live streams and put out my information so that people can contact me as a resource. And so as an insurance broker, someone who works for myself, not the insurance companies, I work for the people. And so a lot of the times, a lot of what we need to say online doesn't need to be restricted. A lot of people don't want their personal information out there anyway, and everything that we do is customized. So there's no need for me to, to divulge anything that would, get me in trouble or need to be, monitored first.
Well, I mean, but there, you said something there, like, I'm an insurance. Did you say broker or yeah? So you don't work for, say, what I mean? I see advertisements on TV for like State Farm, Progressive. You don't work for an individual company. Nope. You work as an agent trying to find them something, right?
Correct. So I have access to hundreds of plans. And by the way, I don't do car insurance, homeowners insurance.
Yeah. I'm just trying to use the ones that I know I can name and not get in trouble.
Yes. No, it's just that, but it's funny because a lot of my listings say health and life insurance broker, and I still get people asking me to insure their cars. And granted, I work in 11 states and counting, and I have so many good, reputable people who do that. So that's fine. I don't hate it, but just know that I can never be your agent for your car.
Okay. Yeah. So you work in several states. All right. You're doing health and life insurance. Is that correct, or just life?
Correct. No,
right.
Both health and life. Okay.
So health and life. And I find that it's an interesting twist on health and life. All right. When I know you from the cooking, health food type person. Is there a relation to that, or was it just where you decided to progress?
Well, Tim, I mean, it's really not that far off from what I'm doing. I think that I'm, I've always had a holistic approach to health and financial everything. So really, I've come full circle in that, my background before food and nutrition, as I am a chef and nutritionist, was mortgages and real estate and banking. So but again, that was before social media. It's like it didn't even exist. So now that I'm full circle, a lot of people complain about, okay, you work for the insurance companies, you're out there to make money. I said, if I really was, I wouldn't be putting out content, newsletters about what is your diet like? How can we heal you through food? How can we lower the amount that you pay in premiums and whatnot? And by planning, how can we better your health and your life and your financial situation by being proactive?
Yeah. So now basically you're not just a health person. Now you're a full service, all right, life. I don't know how can I put this. I was trying to come up with a unique life enrichment person, but I can't come up with a term.
Just don't say life coach, Tim.
Yeah. But it's almost like, not only is it about the food you eat, but it's about the well-being of your finances and the well-being of your mind and the well-being. It's like you're this well-being, all right, all-encompassed person now. And
absolutely.
That's what I see you as now, as opposed to before. You were serving one little increment of it, and then you went and served another little increment, and now you're serving the whole thing. Yeah. So
there's still one more piece of the puzzle that has yet to be announced, but ultimately, I knew that becoming a chef was just one part of the puzzle. It was never the end game. And then becoming a nutritionist and working at a hospital healing through food, that was never the end game. And then, PR, marketing, business coaching, that was never it. It was really, how can I provide extreme value for people everywhere?
Well, let me ask you this, Monique. All right. Do you have a life mission? Is there something that drives you to go, okay, I need to learn this next aspect because eventually I'm going to go even more? Is there a mission that drives you?
Absolutely. It's really people, and it's really, efficiency, productivity, inefficiencies. Actually, I should say the challenging parts, not to sound negative, but when I see systems that are inefficient and processes that are inefficient and things like that, I want to find a way to make it work. Because this idea that we have to revamp 100% everything that's out there, from policy to laws to, companies and banks, and there's a reason why these things have worked. I'm not saying that they're perfect, but things, if they have not evolved to keep up with the times, like I've mentioned, the financial services industry and the internet and social media, if we don't evolve, even as humans, as people, if our diet doesn't evolve, if our lifestyles, our relationships, if they don't evolve, we get stuck and we run into some trouble. So really the ability to see things in a bigger picture and kind of look forward and help bring people along to that point is really what drives me, because I don't expect people to know what I know, but I'm really excited to share it.
Yeah. And I've seen you be excited to share things. And, we've talked in private and had great conversations where we share our lives, and it's great to see you as that person.
Thank you.
You always, even from the first time I've ever met you, I've always thought you were this authentic, caring person. You know what I mean? It's something that you seem like you care a lot about the people who come into contact with you. Although sometimes all of us, I think, look, we can look standoffish, but it's really protecting. All right. And I don't think I've ever seen that about you. All right. You know what I mean? I'm a protective person. I'm not going to let you into my circle until I can trust you. Okay. But you seem like the person who can trust, you know what I mean? I trust everybody until you prove me distrust. Is there a reason you're that way? Or
well, I mean, if we were to psychoanalyze my life, I really should be the complete opposite and more extreme of where you're at, to be honest. But I still have boundaries, and I think it's kind of like, if you know yourself, you've done the work, and you trust your skills and abilities to read people or to react accordingly, then nothing's gonna hurt you. A lot of what I tell people, it's not everybody coming at you. Is how will you react? How will you survive? How do you choose to deal with every situation, because if you just stay the same and you stand in one spot, you really can't blame things for coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if you know how to pivot and adjust, like nothing's going to really stop you from anything.
It's funny that you mentioned those two words, pivot and adjust, because they're like the word pivot right now is like the quote word of everybody having to do in the marketing game. But I like the word adjust. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about what's being said now? Everybody's going, well, you got to pivot your business. I've never been one for going with the key word that everybody's saying. I've always got to fix mine. But how do you feel about those two words and what's going on right now? Because that's a personal Tim thing, and I just want your opinion on it.
Well, I think pivot is the same, creates the same feeling in people mm-hmm. as overhaul, as dump this, do that, right? As completely change. And change is not something that people do very well. Mm-hmm. So I always like to say to people, let's make adjustments. Now, if you actually created a business, right off the bat, no matter what it is, you need to be a certain amount of flexible. And the problem is that a lot of businesses, they're like, nope, this is who I target. This is what I'm about. This, which doesn't sound very flexible. So if you were flexible, for me to say adjust, mm-hmm. you're not going to flinch. You're not going to feel like your whole world is turned upside down. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wait, we need to be able to make adjustments instead of scaring people with overhauls and pivots. And it's just like hustle, like all the people that were hustling, which I understand hustle. It doesn't affect me the way it affects other people, mm-hmm. but to hustle, a lot of people who were like, that's too extreme. I need balance in my life. Mm-hmm. That we can't be using such polarizing words.
Yeah. I know. And to me, it was just like when you said those two words, to me, it's like, and I forget whose call I was on yesterday when they said we shouldn't use the word pivot, we should use words. And I typed in, you mean the word adjust? And yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I know I can ask you a philosophy question, and it's not like the general public. It's a Tim philosophy, and I was getting your opinion.
No worries. Anytime.
It's like Monique is my life coach.
Here we go. That sound bites out there now.
Right now, I mean, being in where we're at, all right, and the transitions you've made in your life, in your business, are you having to fight and struggle to find new clients? Or are you still dealing with, lists of people who want help?
I mean, there's always room to help more people. Mm-hmm. There's always room to grow. In fact, I've been growing my team this year. That was a big plan for me. Mm-hmm. And I have some new campaigns coming out that are focused on helping people with their medical bills. Like, even if I don't work with you even if I haven't sold you insurance, if you have medical bills that you're struggling with, mm-hmm. I want to help you. And it seems a little weird or strange. And, I'm not getting paid to do it. It's not a service. It's really just a mission. And so my approach to all of these services is just unique. Mm-hmm. And so it's just intended to give my access to as many people as possible to me and my services.
Well, in a way, it helps you because that shows them they can trust you with that. Mm-hmm. When it's time to get life insurance, they can trust you with that as well, right? I mean, it's like you're just building trust in people. And I know there's a lot of say in this pandemic that, like, well, you just need to be offering people help. Well, us marketers have been doing it for years.
This is true.
Yeah. We've been doing that for years. It's help people, show that you can help them by actually helping them. And when they need your services, they're going to come to you. I mean, and you see that happening even now, I'll bet.
I mean, how many times, Tim, have you heard, hey, Tim, can I just jump on a call with you to pick your brain?
Yeah.
Oh my, if I had $1 for every time I've said that, that would fund my Starbucks habit for a whole year.
Oh, you still have a habit?
No, not anymore. I switched to Nespresso. I'm just saying I could go back.
It's like, you know what I mean, with this pandemic. All right, our Starbucks is drive-through only, and my pet peeve is drive-throughs. You don't know how hard it is for me to go.
Well, that's because you got a loud Texas truck.
I got a truck. But no, it's been a pet peeve of mine for years, and it is so hard for me. And I'm like, trust me, I'm having to adjust, people. Well, you know, you and I have had some fun conversations over the years, all right, of things that you know what I mean, you kind of love to do, and there's like hobbies and stuff you have. Would you mind sharing with my audience like some hobbies, some fun things Monique does?
Oh, well, I mentioned cooking. So I am a Le Cordon Bleu trained chef, and I wish I actually gave you some photos to share here, because I have a great photo, like a promo photo with me in my chef coat cutting a pineapple. I mean, I love pineapples. Pineapples are great.
On pizza?
We're not going to get that controversial on your show. All right. Maybe a little later. Maybe on my show. We'll talk about pineapple on pizza. But yes, cooking, you know, health, like just, and I am not a recipe chef. Okay. Everyone says, oh, can you just give me that recipe? Look, how many times can Google anything? If I give you recipes, how many recipes do you have stacked up in your bookmarks? I mean, it really takes a lot of energy and effort to put a solid recipe together. It's the equivalent of going to IKEA and following some, you know, really difficult directions and ending up with extra parts. That is not my approach to food. I would rather teach you the fundamentals and tips and tricks and encourage you to be curious enough to like explore something rather than just giving you all the answers. So I enjoy sharing that passion with other people. And I'm also a dancer, ballroom, Latin, swing. Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that. That's like, I got a surprise today. So, but then again, there is nothing about you. I mean, because, you know, I mean, we've kind of touched on friendship, you and I, you know, off screen. There's nothing about you that I dislike. I mean, come on, everything about you I like. And I think it's because I like that you're you and you don't ever broadcast, well, let me try to fit into your thing. You never have. I'm just me. And it makes people love you. So
thank you.
I'm glad you shared that, your ballroom dancer. So, you know, let me tap into the recipes there a little bit, because yeah, there are people like that. You know, but like I created my own barbecue sauce by finding a recipe on the internet and then doctoring it to my taste. So now everybody's like, well, I like your barbecue sauce. Great. Every time it's different, because every time I twist it or tweak it or I taste it and I go, you know, next time I'm going to add this instead of this. And do you find your cooking that way?
Well, no, I'm type A Virgo, OCD. So, you know, technically you're supposed to try, if you're going to have something inspire, you're supposed to try that recipe as is, and then, you know, make adjustments and then record them, because at the end of the day, what is the point? If you enjoy something so much, how are you ever going to produce that joy again, even just for yourself, if you don't write it down and at least have some sort of consistency? Because the thing as a business coach that I always tell people is you got to get stuff out of your head. You got to get stuff, you know, use all the tools that you have. You have your phone, like we have digital tools, paper and pen. I know that's like old school writing utensil. There you go.
Yeah. Trust me.
So, but you got to get things out of your head and like onto paper or onto something that's going to save it, because we cannot expect to remember everything. Like, I mean, how much time goes by between barbecue sauce A to barbecue sauce B, or the next time that you want to try it? So just the same thing in your business or household duties. I mean, I have things like, I have reminders in my phone that remind me to clean my coffee machine.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
To descale my coffee machine. Well, I take coffee very seriously. I want that machine running as, you know, as perfectly as possible. But if you can, like the machines and equipment we have in our house, if we don't take care of it, just like our relationships, how can we expect them to last? So I'm not going to sit here and remember to descale my coffee machine every 300 capsules. Instead, I'm just going to set reminders to have that do that for me.
It's funny because I have because I've worked from home for over 10 years, and my wife does our laundry on Sundays, but I have like set things I do. Monday morning, I get up and take the trash and the recycling out. Thursday, I tear the bed down. I clean the sheets on the bed. I mean, it's like those are things that I do as part of my regular schedule. I just don't think I have them written in my calendar. I think it's just a mental note. Do this on this day of the week type things. But I've never sat down and actually put it on my schedule to do that. I never thought about certain things. Just put a schedule and a reminder of it. Never thought of that.
Well, it's not necessarily a schedule per se. I mean, I believe, something that my mother, she passed away when I was younger, but when I was growing up, it was, do you know how many times it takes for you to, repeat something before it turns into a habit? So my mother was like drilling positive habits into me at a very, very young age. And so I think it was over like 125 times before a habit is like put into your brain. So what about the time between I'm going to start to do this until the time it becomes a habit? It needs to go somewhere and something needs to hold you accountable. And I don't know about you, but I believe that you'd rather have your phone do it than your wife do it. And then not to mention, you don't have to give that responsibility to her to, help you create a habit.
Yeah. Well, I just have always in the beginning, my wife was like, I can do that. I do I do the laundry. I'm like, the sheets, I'm here. That laundry machine's downstairs. It takes nothing to put it in. And an hour later, when it goes ding dong, go downstairs and switch it to the other.
Yep.
Take a break, go put it back. I mean, it's like, I put that stuff into my schedule to just, it's not a habit. It's not something I put down on a calendar. But it is. But there's I don't have a home coffee machine. My wife does, and I go to Starbucks. So speaking of which, yeah, my barbecue sauce and my ribs, I experiment with my stuff to get the recipes right by making about 2 racks of ribs, and then I take them to the people at Starbucks and let the employees eat them.
Oh, that's nice of you.
And we did Easter Sunday. I did a couple racks of ribs, and I just went down. And I called the store manager, and I said, by the way, I'm outside with the truck. I got a couple racks of ribs for you guys with sauce. Fresh made sauce. And literally he came out, I handed the stuff to him, he took it inside. I didn't get my dishes back, but it's okay.
I wish we're neighbors, Tim. What the heck? Huh? I wish we were neighbors.
Yeah, I know.
I could use some ribs.
I know. If we were, trust me, we would be eating each other's food all the time.
Absolutely.
So, Monique, there are a lot of interesting things about you. All right. If someone does want to get a hold of you, whether it's financial services or they want to find out more eating habits or healthy habits, what is a website that they can actually get a hold of you from?
MoniqueHoffman.com, MoniQueHoffman, my full name. And you can actually subscribe to my newsletter. I have one coming out very shortly about eating in the time of Corona. Which is actually, it's not just in the time of Corona. It's like, it's a good time to start new habits, healthy habits, because this crazy virus, it doesn't discriminate, but it does love health problems and weight problems. And I don't know how many memes you've seen, Tim, about people that are like, bikini body, not ready, or, gaining as long as muffin tops are in after the coronavirus. And it's like, we're not exerting that much energy. We don't need to eat that much. And we didn't need to eat that much to begin with. Yeah,
we started walking. I've gained 8 pounds since this started. So I don't know what it is that's causing me to create that. Maybe it's the other substance that you and I consume.
I'm running out. We got some issues. And I'm not risking my life for it.
I get it. So, well, Monique, I like to close my broadcast out with a little game. Have you heard about my game?
I have not.
I play a game called This or That.
All right.
I give you 2 choices, and you just tell me which one you prefer. In some cases, they may be, Tim, I don't go there, but it's okay. All right. I try as much as I can to make it fit the person, but I've made a mistake or 2 in the past. I am not perfect. So, you ready to play?
I am.
Okay. First one I usually like to ask people is Star Wars or Star Trek?
Wars.
Star Wars. Was it like a passion, or it's just you're not really passionate about either, are you?
You made me choose, but everybody always says, my Q is capitalized. So everybody thinks, I actually know who the Star Trek nerds are, because they always think that it's the Q in Star Trek. But it's not.
And it's funny to find out if people are divided on. The people who are passionate about this stuff, they will passionately tell me anyway. And the ones who aren't, they're just not. It's okay.
You made me choose, Tim.
Yeah. Okay. So this next one here is, which would you prefer to watch on TV, the news or a movie?
News.
News? Oh, you're a current events person.
I'm a news junkie.
Yep. How about going to the beach or going to the mountains?
Beach.
Beach. Is that because the LA, or is this?
I love both, honestly. But if there's water by the mountains, that would be like the most ideal situation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lake, in the middle of the mountains, I'd love it. So, would you prefer to read a book or listen to a podcast?
Podcast.
Podcast. Yeah, that's getting more common. I've asked that question a lot, and that's getting more common. A lot of people are like podcasts, especially now. So. This one here, I know that I'm going to get a response out of, but taco or hamburger?
I love both, but mostly because I miss tacos so much, we're going to have to go with that.
Okay. The next one here, the next two I'm going to put into fun things. Beer or wine?
Wine.
Wine. Red or white?
Red.
Okay. This next one here is going to be something you and I have discussed many a times, and I think it would be involved in a show or you and I would be on a regular basis. And that is Jack Daniels or Jim Beam?
Neither.
What one do you drink?
Neither one of those.
Okay. So what one do you drink? Come on, tell me.
Maker's Mark.
Okay. So yes, have you ever done the Bourbon Trail down in Kentucky?
I have not been to Kentucky.
Oh yeah, Gwen and I did. We were on the motorcycles one day. On the motorcycles, we did the Bourbon Trail. I don't recommend doing it on a motorcycle. Just saying.
Got life insurance, Tim?
No, we took a long gap between things, so we didn't do them all in one day. But we did visit some of them. Yeah, we loved visiting the Jim Beam distillery. It was one of my favorites to ever visit. Because there's history involved with it. As well as the ideal of good bourbons. So my last two are ones that people can fight over. This next one, if you have it right now, toilet paper, under or over?
Well, I want to bring everybody on this one. Howmuchtoiletpaper.com is what you need to go to. You put in your habits plus the amount of toilet paper rolls you have, and you will actually find out you have more than enough. So my answer for everybody watching and listening is we all have more than enough.
But would you prefer the roll to be over or under?
Over.
Over. Okay.
Under makes me crazy.
No, yeah. So I had a girl on last week who actually said, well, I'm single. If I start dating a guy, if I have to change the toilet paper to over from under 3 times, on a third time, that's it. I break up with them. The relationship's over. This can go nowhere.
No, see, that's how I am about meat. Okay. I once broke up with a guy for liking meat well done.
Okay, yeah, that's a sin. All right, you know what I mean? How can you eat a steak well done? You've destroyed all the taste. Yes.
Everything, not just steak, everything's well done. Most people who like things well done are worried about getting sick, so they well done everything, and it's just not. It's so cruel to the animal that had to die for it.
Yeah. Well, like that tuna that they just sear it and turn it over. Oh, some of the best tuna. Anyway, my last one is kind of unique in the fact that it's for Monique, and that is boxers or briefs.
Boxer briefs?
Boxer briefs. So you're going to go with something in between. Yeah, I figured you would.
just toss that out. You should have known better.
Well, Monique, I've appreciated you coming on the show today. You've shared some great advice as well as some personal things about yourself, and I appreciate that. One more time, tell everybody, the audience, your website so they can find you and come get in touch with you.
Yes, MoniqueHoffman.com, and it's just my name.com.
There you go. All right.
Thank you so much for having me, Tim. I always have a blast with you, and I can't wait for more.
We'll get you back on the next. I'm sure we're going to do another series of these, and we'll, of course, we're going to have you back. I think we're going to make you a regular contestant on our show.
Uh-oh.
We're going to do the regular feature of every week of having Monique on the show.
You know, I got Q-tips for everybody, so don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, guys, this is another episode of the Tim Gillette Show. I appreciate you all for tuning in. I appreciate Monique Hoffman for being our guest today. All right. Stay tuned. Subscribe. All right. We're now got launched on iTunes. So the show is now live on iTunes. So, by the way, go subscribe to us on iTunes. Share this episode out with your friends on Facebook, YouTube, all right, and Anchor FM and iTunes. And please go by iTunes and give us a review now so that we can help let people know about our show and how we're interviewing people. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next time with another great guest. I'm Tim Gillette. Bye now.
Hi.